Hello, MCR family. It's a little quick MMA show for you. It's Matt, the hipster hunter. Hit the like button, share the show, and let's get into the breaking news, the big news in the MMA world as of today. First up, Max Holloway will most likely return at UFC 245 against Alexander Volkanovski and be sort of the main event doubleheader, obviously, to Amanda Nunes versus JDR. Should be a great New Year's Eve show. But Max Holloway versus Volkanovski should be a fantastic fight. Volkanovski has, fantastic grappling, fantastic overall explosive boxing. I wouldn't say his boxing combinations and or IQ is the level of Max Holloway, obviously, but he might pop in terms of his pure punch power more than Max Holloway. He might be faster to the draw than Max Holloway. Holloway is really going to have to rely on that jab, the volume, just overall his IQ of the game, his ability to mix it up and switch stances, switch angles. It's going to be an interesting style matchup between a dynamic, fast, explosive athlete like Volkanovski and a methodical, technical fighter like Max Holloway. I am fascinated by this title fight. And honestly, in sort of the Max Holloway featherweight run, we thought Brian Ortega was going to be the big foil, the big sort of young contemporary for Holloway in the division. It might be Volkanovski. Volkanovski might be the guy to beat Holloway more so than what we thought Brian Ortega could do. But moving on, sources by way of Brett Okamoto of ESPN, Darren Till to face Kelvin Gastelum at middleweight. Oh, I'm in love with this fight. I mean, come on. This is fantastic. I think this is a really tough first fight for Darren Till at middleweight, but I think in terms of size, in terms of guys that really could just dominate Till from a offensive wrestling factor combined with just a gigantic size, Gastelum might out-wrestle Till, and he probably should. Obviously speaking, Gastelum's a fantastic wrestler. Darren Till has awful defensive wrestling, but Gastelum isn't a guy that's going to tower over Till. He isn't a guy that's going to outmuscle him per se. Till should be able to sort of compete in that stage when it comes to just pure strength and athleticism, and honestly might even be the bigger guy than Kelvin Gastelum. But honestly speaking, Gastelum should be the heavy favorite in this fight, and this is a very tough fight for Darren Till in his first fight at middleweight. In this fight, most likely at UFC 244 in November. Intrigued by this, to say the least. Let me know down below what you guys think of this fight. Who do you guys think will win? Do you think Till is going to somehow edge it out? Or do you think Gastelum, being the better fighter in almost every category, should honestly win this fight? Moving on, in terms of a really fun fight being matched up, Ben Askren, Damian Maia is going to headline UFC Singapore in October 26th, and probably a fight that's most likely speaking going to be a very boring fight. However, can we all admit that we're all absolutely intrigued in who wins out in the grappling battle between Ben Askren and Damian Maia? Damian Maia not being one of the best wrestler, but traditionally speaking, fantastic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and perhaps maybe the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner the UFC has ever seen, but not the best wrestler. His entries and his exits are pretty poor at times. Ben Askren should be able to sort of defend any takedown attempt from Damian Maia, but if Ben Askren goes to the ground and is on top of Damian Maia, could he survive from all the submission threats? Damian Maia not really the best bottom grappler, more of a top grappler. However, Damian Maia is probably the best grappler overall that Ben Askren will be facing in his entire career. And we're now going to finally see, is his grappling that good? Maybe not necessarily his wrestling. I think he should dominate the wrestling side of the game. But once the fight gets to the mat, will he be the better guy? I don't know. I don't think it's easy to say yes. And I'm intrigued by that completely. I think, honestly speaking, it's not going to be fight of the year at all. We all know that. But that's one of the fights I am the most intrigued by in the rest of the schedule this year is Ben Askren versus Damian Maia. Let me know in the comment section down below Who do you think wins out? Who do you think is the better grappler? Is it Damian Maia? Is it Ben Askren? Let me know down below. Moving on, Frankie Edgar is willing to delay his bantamweight move for a Conor McGregor fight. Frankie, I don't want this. Do any of us want this? Honestly speaking, do any of us want a Frankie Edgar bantamweight move? Or I should say, do we prefer a bantamweight move over a Conor McGregor fight? I would say most of us do. Most of us do not prefer a Conor McGregor fight to Frankie Edgar finally going to 135 and fighting, let's say, Dominic Cruz. That's a much better fight that I'm way more intrigued by than a Conor McGregor fight. But of course, Conor McGregor is going to make him more money. So we know why that fight really isn't on the table. But it is what it is. Moving on, though, Aljamain Sterling believes that interim title fight is next against Peter Yan, or at least should be next for them. While I do agree with the sentiment that Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan should be for an interim title, or at the very least, if Henry Cejudo is not fighting a bantamweight next against one of these two guys, then they should be fighting for an interim title. But honestly speaking, I don't think we get that. I don't think the UFC is really that, urged that keen on a Sterling-Yan fight on itself, and on top of that, a interim title attached to it. I think they're much more likely just to let Henry Cejudo have a quick title defense against Joseph Benavidez at 125 and then move back up and sort of see who wins out of Sterling, Yan, Cruz, Edgar, whoever else is sort of gaining steam at this point in time. And honestly speaking, Aljamain Sterling probably should just fight Peter Yan at this point and try to get that steam, because I don't think the UFC are that inclined to throw him a bone, unfortunately, just knowing the UFC's record when it comes to fighters that are African-American. Let's just be honest about it. And also a guy that has been outspoken against the UFC at times, has tested the free agency market against the UFC. I just don't see him being the company man, and on top of that, the UFC treating him as such. So Sterling, unfortunately, you might just have to fight Peter Yan for just a regular paycheck, not an interim title fight, and hope that you get the title fight next. Unfortunately, welcome to a monopsony. Moving on, Paige VanZant looking for a new UFC deal. Speaking of free agency, I want a significant pay raise. Quote from Paige VanZant. And also, she talked about how her endorsements on Instagram make her more money than fighting in this interview with Ariel Helwani, and I thought that was quite interesting and not surprising, to be quite honest. You know, she's a celebrity now. She's been on Dancing with the Stars, Sports Illustrated. She's been all over the place. And she's clearly, in terms of just online social media metrics, one of the bigger names in the UFC roster. I'm not surprised she's feeling the urge of no, I want my worth. And also kudos to her for understanding that, being aware of it, and trying to get her maximum worth in the marketplace. Credit to her, absolutely. This is honestly a great move for her, not only for her overall career, but just from a pure optics perspective, for us, I think, fans, we're going to respect her so much for this, because we want more fighters to do this. This is something that we want fighters to do for a long time, to challenge the UFC's authority, to challenge their overall monopoly on in terms of negotiation power in the marketplace, because certain fighters do have the power to fight back, and most of them don't. Paige VanZant is doing so, and doing so openly with the media as well, or through the media as well. So credit to Paige VanZant. Can't wait to see what sort of deal she can get. And honestly, even if the UFC says, no, we're good, which would be a shocker, but they could say no, she's going to get a massive deal from Bellator and instantly be one of the biggest names on their roster. So whatever route she goes next, she's going to be set. She's going to be in a position to succeed. And on top of that, she seems to have the mindset now where she understands her leverage when it comes to the negotiation table, and on top of that, how to maneuver that leverage. So credit to Paige VanZant. Cannot wait to see how this negotiation process moves forward. Mackenzie Dern is coming back, and she doesn't expect any weight issues against Amanda Ribas months after her daughter's birth. And credit to her. I mean, her and her, I don't know if they're married or just boyfriend, Santos, I think Weasley, something like that. Beautiful couple, beautiful daughter. They look like they're just enjoying life right now. And credit for her for bouncing back to fighting so quickly. Another woman that probably has massive endorsement deals outside the sport to sort of float on, and she's not, and she's going back and fighting, and she's looking dedicated in the gym. Credit to Mackenzie Dern. I can't wait to see what's next for her. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu phenom. Though, sort of switching back to the Demian Maia conversation, she is somebody that needs to work on her wrestling heavily, because her grappling on the mat is fantastic, but her entries are a little bit poor at times. And obviously speaking, her striking is light years behind where I think most people probably want it to be. Moving on, last topic of the day, CB Holloway suspended for 2 years by USADA after testing positive for multiple banned substances. Going to be curious to see how, sort of go a little bit in-depth on this case in some aspect. I haven't really read up on it as much as I would like to. If you guys know how much I love to read up on PD and PD cases and PD regulation as a whole. So, curious to check up on the CB Holloway case in depth. But that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Leave a comment down below. Hit the like button, share the show, all that fun stuff. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Also, Trending Now Network, our other YouTube channel. Check that out as well. Have a great day, great night, great evening, wherever you are. And again, find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Peace.